Okay, so welcome everybody. My name's Julia Sotas, and this is a conversation that I wanted to have that was really sparked by Gary Douglas. I hold on. Okay, what's the date? It's Tuesday, February 19th, 2019. And hi everybody who's here. And this will also be a long-running living YouTube video. So hi to everybody watching this on YouTube. Welcome, YouTubers. Oh, look at everybody's waving. Awesome. So I'm so glad that you guys are here. And this conversation is about money. And basically having money is a major source of a lot of emotion, a lot of pride, a lot of grief, a lot of shame, a lot of embarrassment. It evokes a lot of feelings in us. And so today I wanted to have a conversation about the feelings. Hi, Cheryl, welcome. I wanted to have a conversation about the feelings that money brings up and talk to you guys a little bit about what I have gone through on my money journey. I've had all kinds of different encounters, triumphant and absolutely horrific, on my money journey. And so I hope that today we can have a conversation about, what money is to us, and really be here today to create a future where money doesn't have to be an emotional thing anymore. Money doesn't have to be a thing of wrongness, or rich people are evil, or rich people are greedy, or poor people are wrong, or poor people are right. I mean, we make the poor people on the street right also. And we make ourselves right and wrong for being poor as well. So it's just it's an issue of a lot of emotion. And I wanted to do this call. So Gary Douglas actually encouraged me to do this, because I was like, Gary, I'm having trouble like going to all the classes and paying for all the things that I want to pay for. And it's really embarrassing, I said to him. And he's like, well, what if you did a Zoom called "What Would It Take to Embarrass You into Having Money?" So everything that brought up times the godzillion, can we destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pot and pock, shorts, boys, and beyonds. So to start with, how much of the money that you have had in the past have you made yourself wrong for spending? And everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pot and pock, shorts, boys, and beyonds. All of the shame, blame, regret, and guilt, and the distractor implants creating that, and all the Mobius strips underneath that. If you want more info on the distractor implants, you can take the Access Foundation class, or read the book Living Beyond Distraction. All of the distractor implants of blame, shame, regret, and guilt around money, will you guys destroy and create that times a godzillion? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pot and pock, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Everywhere you have the joy of being impotent with money, the pride of being impotent with money, and the righteousness of being impotent with money, will you destroy and uncreate all of that times a godzillion? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pod, pock, shorts, boys, and beyond. So Albina wants to know what impotent means. The way that impotent is most commonly used in English is actually to refer to a man's penis. It's when the penis is not hard, or when the man can't get his penis hard. So basically it refers to not being useful, or not having the strength that you want in a particular area. So in English, we talk about, like, if a man has impotency issues, that's a big source of shame for a man. So everything that brought up, which is the same with money. So pretty good analogy. So everything that brought up, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pot and pock, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And what's the value of making money more valuable than you? And everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pot and pock, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And this hangout is really a springboard. This is also a announcement call for the 3-day class that I am doing about taking up your power with money and about organizing your money and about changing these positions and situations that you have with money. And that class that have just launched is called Becoming the CFO of Your Own Life. So how much energy are you using to try to find the other people who will be the CFO of your life rather than you being the CFO of your life are you choosing? And everything that is times a godzillion will you destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pod, poc, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Whew. So I was actually having a wonderful conversation this morning with Shannon O'Hara. We were talking about her business and the business of Talk to the Entities and what she is running and creating. And she talked about something really amazing because I was talking to her, I was saying, Shannon, like, do you want my help, like, calling more people with Talk to the Entities and like calling more of the Talk to the Entities facilitators and supporting them? And she actually, like, what her response totally changed my reality this morning. And so it's really interesting that we're having this call right after her and I had that conversation. But basically what she said was, well, she's like, I have like run myself ragged the last, 10 years that she's been doing Talk to the Entities, trying to support the Talk to the Entities facilitators who don't actually take up the support and go out and create greater for themselves with the support. Some of them create great, but they do that on their own. Very few, if not any, facilitators take the support and run with it. So she said, what I would love to create with you, Julia, is your help creating the organism of Talk to the Entities. Feed it, like giving the organism what it requires and supporting the organism rather than supporting people. And it changed my reality because I've been looking in my business at how I can support the staff of my business, and the organism of my business has actually has been lacking. There have been like energetic holes in it because I've looked up until this point to support people more so than to support the creation, than to support, and I like to actually call it an organism because that actually gives a really good idea about like the consciousness that it is. Because people are not willing to be conscious, organisms are willing to be conscious. And the way that you change people is by creating conscious organisms. Does that make sense? It's like if people have conscious organisms to play in, that'll give them a better choice for consciousness than it will you trying to support them into consciousness. That doesn't work. People can only be inspired into consciousness. They can't be pushed into consciousness or supported into consciousness necessarily. Now, that's not always the case, but I think that what happens is when in the creation of money, we look to people as a source of money rather than looking to organisms as a source of money. So Tarun is asking, can you give an example of that? I think I actually just gave a super clear example with my business. So if you missed that, re-listen. So everything that you are doing to destroy the organisms that would develop, create, and nourish your future, will you destroy and uncreate all of that times a godzillion? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pot and pock, shorts, boys, and beyonds. How much of the people in your life are actually more interested in gaslighting you than supporting you to consciousness, even if they do access consciousness? Everything that is times a godzillion will you destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pot and pock, shorts, boys, and beyonds. For what reason do you destroy your future? And everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine pot and pock, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Cool. And we destroy our future for people. We go, oh, this is more important. Their feelings are more important. I don't want to do this. I don't want to bulldoze over them. I have to spend all of my time taking care of other people's feelings and trying to make sure they're okay. And we don't look at the aspect of how people would be greater if we started supporting the consciousness of the world and the organisms that only we are capable of creating. So everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine pod, poc, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And I'm not saying ignore people. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I have, whether I realized it or not, I have started to look at this point of view for a long time and have been willing to lose people in my life and not create for them anymore. And as a result of that, I have been able to have such greater relationships with so many of the people in my life because of the consciousness that I have garnered and created for myself based on the future that I have created through my creations. So basically we've got it all mixed up. So every time, and Gary's been saying this for years, but it's like every time that you look to somebody else to validate your creations or your organisms, you destroy possibility. And everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine pod, poc, shorts, boys, and beyond. And I really have to thank Shannon for this awareness because she has really hoed the road. She's been doing this for about 20 years nonstop and really, really has committed to her life. And it's like the choice for this is something that has been really cloudy and misidentified. And so if each of us in our own way can look at look at your business for a second and look at what the energy of that is. And for some of you, it might actually be healthy. For a lot of you, it's going to be really, really weak. And if you look at that and go, okay, so what energy would I have to be in order to strengthen this? In order to give this creation what it desires and requires to thrive. And one of the ways, I'm going to take you guys through an exercise right now. So close your eyes. And we're going to look at the energy of this and how we can energetically nourish and nurture your business. Okay, so we're going to do it for business, but this exercise can be done for anything. It can be done for your bank account. It can be done for your home. It can be done for specific classes you're going to put on, for specific books you're going to write, for specific conferences you're going to speak at, for different classes. So it's all going to be, it can be used for anything, but let's do business because that's a cool topic. Okay, so I want you to close your eyes and put your barriers down. And become aware of the energy of your business and put it in front of you. Put it in front of your solar plexus in sort of like an energy bubble. Okay, now notice it. Notice its energies. Notice its energetic properties. Notice what is great about it already. Notice what is required. Notice what is dying because you've been ignoring it. Notice the future that you and it are capable of. And the greatness of that yet you maybe haven't acknowledged yet. Acknowledge it. Become clear. Create clarity. Not conclusion, but clarity of the energy. Okay? Now, I want you to pull the energies in the universe into the business that the organism of the business is asking for. So now reach out over the entire universe and pull in the energetic properties that are going to nourish the business. And as you pull them in, let them also flow out the back until you've formed a huge river of energy. And let the energy flow massively. Until you become very vulnerable. And even then, continue it flowing. You don't have to know these energies to pull them in. Just begin to pull energy, and that will feed the organism. Now, let trickles out to all the people, all the entities who have the ability to assist in the creation of this. You don't have to know them yet, just let tons and tons of trickles out. And when they meet you, they'll recognize your energetic signature and they'll be willing to contribute to you because they'll already feel warm and familiar to you. And now, pull energy again. Massively through the whole universe. Through the business and through you and out the back of you as a big, massive river of energy. I mean, you're pulling energy. You want to pull until you feel very vulnerable because that equals receiving. So what energy, space, and consciousness can you be to create a business totally beyond this reality with total ease? Right and wrong, good and bad, all 9, pot and pock, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Okay? So you can open your eyes. And you know, that exercise is something that you want to do every day if you are creating business. Okay? So clip it from this video and use it every day. And then the other thing that you want to put into your bubble and pull energy through as well is, how much money would I like to make every month? Where would my body like to live? What would I like to create as a business, as a creation? What types of people would I like to be around? people who judge me or people who want to see the gift of me and desire for me to be greater every day, even if they feel like they're losing me because I'm changing so much. You know? And, what is actually possible for me? How much would I like to travel? Like, what would you actually like your life to be like if there was no limitation? But you must feed it energetically. You must pull in the energy that will allow it to build and grow. Because we talk, like, basically, when you're worried about the people around you, you're constantly, the exercise that we just did, you're basically doing that to dodge people's judgments. You're changing your energy, you're moving it around, you're doing it all the time to fit into people reality rather than moving the energy for the much more useful organism of consciousness, and to bring that consciousness to everything that you desire to create. And the thing is, Teresa, we have some muting I think that needs to happen. The thing with all of this is that we each have something that we can create that no one else can create. We have multiple universes that we can create that nobody else can create, because we each have such a different point of view. And so few people are interested in consciousness. Granted, that is changing now after 30 years of hard work by Gary Douglas, and the contributions of Dane, and all the other amazing facilitators and people around the world. And it's still a rarity. It's definitely not a dominant point of view. It's definitely 0.0001% of people or less. And it's like, so you, whether you realize it or not, are a leader of this, just in the way that you interact in the day, in the way that you conduct yourself, in the choices that you make. And that really, delineates whether or not you will have money or not have money. Basically, the amount of money that you have is a indirect proportion to the amount of people that you engage with in a day. So, and which is a totally different direction than what I just said, where it's not about pleasing people or creating for people, but it is about engaging with people. Because when you engage with people, and when you are engaging with people's different realities, that actually creates a spark and a possibility in their life and in their world. So, and engaging can look different. I don't exclude anybody. I'll usually go to lunch with anybody as long as it's light. If it's heavy, probably won't. And then the most important tool is to phone 10 people every day and connect with 10 people and ask them how they are doing. Not tell them about how you're doing. That's just pushing your rightness at people, but ask them about how they're doing, because that doesn't happen in this reality. People don't call people just to genuinely check up on them and check up on their world. And if you're not willing to make 10 phone calls, you can make 1 phone call per day, and that'll change your reality. Make 1 phone call. Karen says, I totally avoid direct engagement with people. Phoning others is a huge challenge. Pock and pod. Yeah. So what if you just started with 1 person per day? And I think part of the reason too that we think it's a challenge is because you think that you're calling to create business or to get this person engaged in your business or what you're doing, but it's not that. If I phone my friends from high school, that counts. That's engaging with them, engaging with consciousness. And because I've done that, like I ran one of my friends' bars last week who doesn't even do access consciousness. And she's like, wow, I'm really relaxed. I feel really good. I was like, yeah, that's what the bars are for. And now she has that in her world and something greater is created. But with phoning people, if you phone over here, results will be created over here. So it's not about, oh, I do this thing. It's about, hey, I am grateful for you. I thought about you today. I want to talk to you. I wanted to talk to you and just see how you were doing. And it's not disingenuous. Like when I phone friends and people and clients, I'm doing it because I want to know how they're doing. And the other thing is I find that I've usually changed their life more than they've ever told me. So it comes back to me and I'm like, whoa, I actually contribute to people because I talk and talk and nobody calls me and says, hey, Julia, you changed this thing for me. But sometimes I just have to call them. So Amanda says, who do you call? I only know so many people. Join an access call team. Join an access call team and then you call people. I mean, I have a lot of contacts on my phone. So you call all the contacts on your phone, except for, like, if it's like your plumber from 1992, like maybe not. But like, you know, I'll just say, hey, you came into my head and I was thinking about you and I wanted to chat. And it's true. I usually go, oh, I should really call that person. And it makes their world greater. It makes my world greater. And we usually have things to talk about anyways. Like, oh yeah, I was wondering, I needed that thing from that class that you did. Can you get that to me? Yeah, I'll have my assistant send it to you, or things like that. So Albina says call team, not cult team. Too bad there's not an access cult team. That would be funnier. But yeah, there is an access call team, and they make calls to people around the world just to check up and engage with them. So money is in direct proportion to how many people you engage with in a day, especially if you're creating your own business. And so if it's not something that's easy for you, it's probably something you just have to get over. You know, you can pock and pod and you just got to get over it. There was one class where this really changed for me personally. There was a class that I was hosting for Dane, and it was the very first class I ever hosted for him. And there was another host on the team who was intense and kind of a bully. And they made me, and at the time I was like, sure, I'll do whatever you say. So they made me call, there was a list of 2,200 people in Canada who had done the foundation, and they told me I had to call every single one. And so I never made it to every single one because that's a full-time job, but I called 700 people. 700. And I hated it, and I cried, and I was very upset. And I did it anyways, and it changed my life. So it was just a little bit of a hardcore education. And that's not how you have to do it. But it's like you just pick up the phone and you go, hey, was thinking about you. How you doing? And people will be so grateful. Like, I keep in touch with my grandma. I call her once a month. I'm like the only grandchild that keeps in touch with her. Albina's not calling her grandma. Her grandmother is a witch and not the good kind. But I, like, for instance, I call my grandma about once a month, and I'm like the only person who calls her. I went to visit her, and on her calendar, in her entire month, she had one thing that she was, doing on her calendar, and it was Julia visiting. And that was it. That was my grandma's whole, I'm going to cry. That was my grandma's whole month, was that I was coming to visit her. And it's like, we need to be there for people. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that you lay down your life for them. It doesn't mean that you buy their points of view. It means that you go, hey, how's your world? Because people don't get that. Like, people don't receive that from anywhere else. It's such a gift to be with people, to engage with them. And as you engage them in conversation, you're engaging their reality. And the gleaming, glittering consciousness of your reality starts to crack open the walls of their reality. And maybe it won't happen this lifetime, but at some point, their reality will crack open. And they might have a chance at a gleaming, glittering reality of consciousness like you have. Karen says, this is such a kindness in how you explain this. Thank you. Cool. Awesome. You're welcome. Yeah, I've had a lot of practice at, like, phoning people, and it's just been such a gift for me personally, like I phoned somebody once on the Access Call team, and they asked me to come and talk to the entities in their city. So if I wouldn't have called them, they wouldn't have asked me to talk to the entities in their city, but it's not about that at all. But these things will pop up, and these will be some of the rewards for you engaging your consciousness with other people. Okay, so I will repeat again. The amount of money you have in your bank account is in direct proportion to the amount of people you interact with in a day. Whether it's the person at the dry cleaners, whether it's your hairdresser, whether it's your mom, whether it's your brother, doesn't matter. It will create. And when you do classes and when you have bars clients, call your bars clients a month after. Put it in your calendar. Every day for 7, if I have 7 participants, I'm going to call one person per day starting a month after the bars class. Ask them how they're doing. They will have questions for you. There will be things they want to know. But do you value your clients? Do you value the people who bring you money? Do you give back to them? There's a lady named Ellen, who's an amazing lady, who may or may not be on this call. I phoned her a couple weeks ago, and she said, Julia, I'm building a brand new house. And for the first time in my life, I'm choosing for myself. And that has just reverberated in my universe, the fact that she told me that by being on these classes and being on these calls, she is actually choosing for herself and building herself a brand new house. Regardless of what anybody thinks, regardless of whether it makes sense or not, she's going to have something for her. And she's texting and saying, this makes me cry. It makes me cry too, because I helped you do that. And I'm valuable and you're valuable. And we're creating a greater world together. And it's like, I love it. Simone was facilitating a class in Houston last month, and she said she was with some other facilitators, and they would have a good idea, and she'd say, "You're brilliant," and she'd say, "And I'm brilliant." So that was the thing all weekend. You're brilliant, and I'm brilliant. So it's like, and you never. I mean, there is a time when you don't want to interact with people, and that's if they are abusing you. That doesn't work, it doesn't mean you cut them out of your life, but if you're going to be abused when you hang out with them or you call them, maybe not necessary. But even if they're annoying and unconscious, I mean, how much are you not willing to talk to and engage with people who judge you? There's a difference between them judging you and full out abuse. I still engage with people who judge me. And I have to learn to put down my walls to their judgments. It doesn't mean that I exclude them from my life. The 10th commandment in Access Consciousness is no exclusion. And you never exclude somebody. So, because when you have to exclude somebody, you have to exclude yourself and you have to exclude your creations. Because exclusion requires judgment, and it takes a lot of energy to hold that exclusion out, to uphold that exclusion. So there's the difference between, you don't have to invite the person to your birthday party, but that doesn't mean that if they dropped off at the present at the door, you didn't receive the gift and say hi. You never ever destroy relationships because of people's judgments. Okay? And if somebody abuses you and they're willing to change down the road, be an allowance of that. Okay, cool. You can hang out with me if you're going to be kind to me now. But for the most part, if people are judging you, you don't you don't exclude them. You don't exclude anybody. So just because somebody doesn't like me, it doesn't mean I don't go to lunch with them. Doesn't matter. You know when people don't like you, and does it really matter? No, it doesn't really matter. Just like your mom, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you didn't have moms who told you this, but my mom always said, just the reason they don't like you, Julia, is because they don't like themselves. Okay, so that's what you want to look at. Good God, we've been going for 40 minutes already. I'd only planned 45 minutes for this. Does anybody have any questions? I haven't taken any questions yet. Sylvia says, what an amazing conversation. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, this is an amazing conversation. I'm really glad that we all gathered here on this lovely Tuesday. Because it's important. I mean, this is how you actually create a business and create money. Pretty much if you did everything that I said in this call and you actually instituted it, like there would be no way you could fail. By pulling energy, engaging with people, looking at what you desire, because you don't desire what the people around you desire. I asked Gary that. I asked him, like, how did you become so different than the people around you? Like, how did you grow so quickly? And he said, well, I looked at what I wanted, and it was not what anybody around me wanted. He's like, I wanted nice things. I wanted to have a nice life. I wanted beautiful things, and I wanted to live in a beautiful house, and I wanted to have a beautiful reality. And everybody else around me had an excuse for why they couldn't have that. And he's like, I realized that what I wanted didn't match what everybody else wanted. And so he said I had to choose to have something different than what everybody else had. Nicole says, my brain is a bit stuck on incorporating both. Number one, don't focus on the people and focus on growing the organism. And number two, call people and care about their worlds. Totally. Well, that's the thing about access, is it's never consistent and you can never make it consistent. So just go forth and do both the best that you can, regardless of the fact that it makes absolutely no sense. Karen says, I admire the changes I have seen in you since I went to the level 2-3 in Edmonton a few years ago. I love that you are sharing in such honesty, such an inspiration. Cool. Thank you. Yeah. And like, you know, I just really knew that I had to be everything I could be this lifetime. I couldn't wait. I just had to do it. And some people just will never do it. And some people, you know, if you're here and if you're listening, obviously you've opened a door to something, and you can make it long and arduous to be all of you. You can take a long time, or you could take the quick bus, which is consciousness, and which is just using the tools every day. And I mean, we're just all so much better than we want to know that we are. Like, we really have no reason to judge ourselves at all, ever. There's nothing that you've ever done in the past that is wrong. There's nothing that you will ever do that is wrong. You know, if you murder somebody, they probably deserved it anyways. You know, I'm joking. But, well, I'm not joking. But it's like we're so not wrong. And that's the most important thing to get. If you can use these tools and do interesting point of view, I have this point of view about me, that tool will get you to a place where you're not wrong anymore. But really, that's really the crux point. Because if you're creating from the foundation of I'm wrong, like think of it as a springboard. If you're creating from the springboard of I'm wrong, it's a really super faulty springboard, and you're going to jump on your springboard and you're going to like land like a foot away from your springboard. And if you have a springboard of you knowing the greatness of you and not judging you at all, That's going to be like a really springy springboard, and you're going to like jump on your springboard and you're going to blast off over the moon. So your judgments of you do make you weak. They weaken what you're capable of. It's better to err on the side of arrogance than the side of self-judgment. That's what Gary says. He's like, I'm the most arrogant man on the planet. And he's not really. But he certainly doesn't judge himself. And when he makes a mistake, he goes, oh, okay, I'm going to just change it to something else. And that's it. There's no trauma. There's no drama. There's no I'm so wrong. There's no I'm so bad. There's, okay, I'm just going to change what I did. You're here. You're on this planet. You're doing the absolute best that you can every second of every day. Like, what? How can that be wrong? How can you possibly make yourself wrong? You're doing everything that you can to have better and greater. And most of you will just ignore this conversation and go make yourself wrong because you're used to it. But I try. Maybe in 30 years you'll hear me. All right. Well, this was fun and kind of out of nowhere. And it is, though, I'm making an announcement for my class because it is this whole class is my announcement class for my new class, which I will now make an announcement about. And I would love to come to your area. I do have requirements of how many people come because I, gotta run the business, make a profit. But I'm doing this 3-day class. And I would love to work with people in this area of money and running a business. I've done so much of the trial and error and would just love to share my awareness with people and to have a place where we can really dive into the area of business and look at our finances, look at what it actually is like to put 10% away. I'm going to make everybody bring their receipts to class, and we're going to do a morning on accounting. So probably nobody will sign up for the class now that I told you that, but it's actually like this engagement with your business and your money, and actually, getting all the tools that you need to be the CFO of your own life and to actually have a future that works. Because having a life that works is not something that I see very often. Having a baby and making the baby your whole life is cute and awesome, and you can do that plus 1,000 billion other things too, also on top of it. We make our lives so small, and we think that family is everything and blah 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 blah. Gag me. It's like, we can have all that if that's what you want. Not for all of you either. And when it's not for you, you get super made wrong for it in this reality. But you can do all the baby and the family and all that stuff and a billion other things. Okay? So we're capable of so much, and you have to create a life that works. And I'm in the process of creating a life that works. My life is getting to the point where it works now. And, it's taken a little bit of time. I've fallen flat on my face a lot, and I pick up and I keep going, and you just use the tools. So now I have to announce where all the classes are because I'm being told to. So we have New York City, New Delhi, India. We have Brandon, Manitoba is coming up, which we don't have a date for. We have Vancouver, Canada, and possibly Atlanta, Georgia, and wherever else in the world. So I am so grateful for you guys. And if you never do the class, I don't care either. Take this call and listen and listen and listen, and take all of the tools that I gave you and actually use them, because it can create so much greater. And Teresa said she will send out the replay, and this will also be up on YouTube as an evergreen class that people can listen to and have as a free resource for Access Consciousness. All right, thank you guys, and peace out, and we'll see you when we see you. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you, Julia.
Welcome. Bye.